Do you have any worries that this could be your last Mexican Grand Prix?
Zero. I'll be here next year and I will try to go for the victory because that is my dream.
My future, obviously. A race like today is not ideal
next
for
train.
that,
Had a couple of mistakes.
Of course,
Black as well.
16 wins for the team.
What you're currently looking at is the list of contenders for the second Red Bull seat next year. You may notice something. There's 4 of them, and there's only 1 seat. And really, one of these people shouldn't be here to begin with. Now hold on, I know. Checo is still here next year, on paper. He's signed the contract, and by all accounts, he is pretty convinced that he's not going anywhere.
I'm not leaving!
So right now, I wouldn't really blame you if you're looking at this video and thinking, you guys are fucking idiots, you don't know what you're talking about. But come on, we've all seen the headlines, we've all seen the uncertainty, and there's still an empty RB seat, which doesn't look like it's getting filled until this Red Bull situation is sorted. So, get fucked. We've only got, depending on how long it takes me to edit this video, 2 or 3 races left. You'd think they'd make a decision by now, considering how cutthroat Red Bull are as a team. So what the fuck is going on? That's what we aim to find out today.
Sergio Checo Perez, I think we can all agree here, was like an incredible midfield driver. Through 2018-19, people were saying that he's the best of the midfield. He was making things work in that Force India and Racing Point towards the end. He started at Sauber. Even there, he was a great midfield driver as a young rookie coming in.
He did a weird stint at McLaren as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I'm not going to mention that. And I think everyone can agree that at the end of 2020, I think everyone was like, this guy not only needs to be on the grid the next year, but also needs a front-running car to prove his worth. Red Bull were willing to give him that chance, and he performed really well in 2021 and helped Max win his first world title, which wasn't controversial at all.
Oh, I remember last year, people were saying, oh, could this be like a sort of Lewis Rosberg situation? No. In a word.
The last year and a half, 2 years, I think he's been unacceptably far behind Max in terms of pace. We've seen him go out in Q3 far too many times to be acceptable. I'm sorry, I mean, it's just embarrassing. Fighting that hard against the baby team and losing, it's just poor. It's like when your friend has a 17-year-old dog and it walks into the room and you're like, oh, hey, there he is.
So, why is he still here?
I think his sugar daddy, Carlos Slim, who owns many companies, is obviously protecting him, and also merch sales. I mean, how many Red Bull Checo hats are there in Mexico? Like, how many blades of grass are there in Montana? I don't know what. I think at some point, Red Bull have got to question whether the money that Checo's bringing in, is it worth the money that's going out due to all his crashes and him winning the World Destructors Championship? Also, the money that he's losing Red Bull because of damage to their brand because he's finishing P11.
However, about a month ago, Carlos Slim said that Telemex might stop sponsoring Red Bull. Telemex is the biggest phone company in Mexico and Checo's main sponsor. This also comes with Helmut Marko saying after Vegas that it's just not fair on the rest of the team that they've lost out on their Christmas bonuses because Perez lost the Constructors' Championship. So it doesn't take a genius to figure out he's probably going.
If any of you are looking for any last-minute gift ideas for me, I have one.
Christian Horner.
My boss right here tonight. I want him brought from his happy holiday slumber over there
Milton Keynes.
with all the other rich people, and I want him brought right here with a big ribbon on his head. And I want to look him straight in the eye, and I want to tell him what a cheap, lying, no-good
So, with all that said and done, who's replacing him? It's up for debate whether Liam Lawson should have been in the RB seat from the start of this year, but what isn't up for debate is that the man's got talent, and it's being wasted right now, because as of right now, he doesn't have a seat next year. Twice now, Liam Lawson has replaced Daniel Ricciardo. Last year was unavoidable, this year was completely avoidable. He's come back and he's been completely off the chain. He has cared nothing for making friends and has made them pretty clear in saying that.
I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to win.
He's been doing everything in my eyes to prove that he deserves to at least be on the grid, if not in Red Bull. That's what Christian Horner wants, but Helmut Marko wants him in Racing Bulls. He doesn't know where he's going, and so right now, he's going nowhere. He's literally stuck between a rock and a hard place. The rock being Red Bull's management, and the hard place being Yuki Tsunoda. So, a lot of people call it cutthroat business tactics. I just call it not having a clue what you're doing.
If you look this season as well, he's been out-qualifying Perez in an RB. That's on-track evidence that he has what it takes and is the correct driver to put in that seat.
So, what's stopping them?
Yuki Tsunoda. Every time he comes up against a challenge, he raises to meet it, and I think he could be the perfect teammate for Max Verstappen. Unlike Lawson, who might prove to be a challenge for Verstappen, or Perez, who's just fucking wank, Tsunoda would be the perfect teammate, like Perez would used to have been. Good enough to get points and consistently put the Red Bull where it should be, but not big enough of a threat to challenge their golden child. Now, every time, hang on. What the fuck was I going to say?
A lot of people will say two things about Yuki. One, his attitude, which I think is bullshit. More so the overreaction when Yuki does something compared to anyone else, but whatever. The other thing, which I think is slightly more valid, is Honda. A lot of people will say that Tsunoda's only got a seat because of Honda. I think that's a bit harsh. I think he had a pretty good junior career and he deserved the seat. Would he still be there without Honda? Debatable. And will he continue to be there when Honda leaves Red Bull? Probably not.
I think at the moment he's serving the best purpose that he can for Red Bull. I mean, if you look at it from Horner and Marco perspective, he sets a great benchmark for young drivers coming up. Honestly, that's more valuable for Red Bull than if he was in the main team.
I don't know, it's just a bit of a shitty way to be given a role. You know, it's like destined to, until the end of time, just be a benchmark against drivers that Marco actually likes.
What is my purpose?
Test drivers.
Oh my god.
So, if it's not going to be Yuki, and they're not keen on Lawson yet, who is it? Oh! Out of nowhere, a new F1 driver's... Okay, yeah, alright, we've been through this. He has been making quite an impression on Formula 1 lately, hasn't he? It seems as if Christian Horner really wants him. Like, really, really wants him.
I want you. What?
He thinks that he could go straight to Red Bull and drive alongside Max Verstappen. I mean, it makes sense, you know? He's a really talented wonder kid. He's got a girlfriend with a really weird age gap. He's gonna bring them a lot of money. But, and this is a big but, there are two big issues with this. I'm just interrupting. Literally while editing this video, I saw that Bottas said he'd be happy to drive alongside Verstappen next year. I'm not even going to entertain that. Anyway, carry on. Number one, it's far too soon to know whether he's good enough. That's why RB exists. And that's why Marco wants him in RB. But Horner doesn't.
That's my opinion!
Which leads on to my second point. Red Bull have a habit of doing this.
Did I ever tell you what the definition of insanity is? Insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change. That is crazy.
They rush drivers up way too quickly, put them in a very fast racing car that is typically very hard to drive. They underperform, and so their career is ruined. We've seen it with Albon, we've seen it with Gasly, and we could see it with Colapinto. Do I know that's going to happen? No. He could jump in the car and fly. That's exactly what he did earlier this year. But it runs the risk.
Pierre Gasly had a season before at Toro Rosso, back when that team had a name with aura, before getting put in the main car, arguably too soon even then, and floundered, as you say. Albon only had half a season at Toro Rosso before getting launched into that team. And I think at this point, it's on Red Bull if they haven't learnt from their past mistakes. I think that they have the perfect opportunity to put Lawson in the main car and then put Colapinto in RB or whatever they're called. I think it would just be such massive oversight to just put him in the main car immediately and expect him to do any better than Perez is right now. They can put him in the little team, the little guys, and, you know, Red Bull are the only team to have a proper second team. Use it, but don't put people like Ricciardo in it who are, you know, 10 years down the line from their rookie season. Put young drivers in it. Test them out. Let them get used to the cars and, you know, develop as drivers, for God's sake. Like,
people clown Ferrari for making stupid decisions and stupid mistakes, when realistically, it's Red Bull.
I have also seen that apparently Alpine want him, which is rough for doing. I feel like this is a case of him, I guess, being overhyped by the media and everyone thinking he's the second coming of Christ.
He's not the Messiah, he's a
Don't get me wrong, I think he's a brilliant driver, but I think it's far too early to know whether he's capable of performing week in, week out in a car like that. And right now, that is what they need. Consistency. After the year they've had this year, and going into next year, they cannot afford to take a risk like that. They need to go with someone that they know is good.
Okay, it's time for everyone's favourite section, our predictions on who is going to get this actual seat. So, Jamie, you first. I've picked you.
I don't know.
Kimi Antonelli.
Fuck off! I feel in my heart of hearts they're going to keep Perez next year. They shouldn't, but I just feel like they will, because that's just how they seem to be going lately. He'll pull one performance that doesn't make him look like a granny.
Damn and blast.
And that'll them just decide, yeah, he's still good enough.
Uncle Robert, what do you think?
Well, as I previously mentioned in my Tsunoda spiel, he is my favourite that I would like to get it. However, I have seen rumours circulating that Perez has signed an extension and will keep the seat even further than he already has got it for. So I'm going with Perez as well, sadly. Wanker.
I would not be surprised if Perez keeps that seat, but I'm going to be exciting here and say Lawson will get the seat next year. I think he's done really well to prove himself, especially as that on-track battle with Perez at Mexico, where they were both just going pound for pound, gloves off. They knew that the seat was up for grabs. I think he has a strong case to make for getting that seat next year.
Who's going to get the RB seat? Because there is actually a seat free there.
Well, I think that once Lawson goes to Red Bull, I think once they've announced that, they'll contact Colapinto and say, look, realistically, you can either have a reserve driver role in Williams, where neither Sainz nor Albon look like they're going anywhere for a while, or you can come race with us at RB. So I think it'll be Lawson in the lead team, and I think Franco will take that seat to be tested against Yuki Tsunoda's pace, which is all he's good for, apparently, according to Red Bull.
Rob?
Well, as I think Perez is staying at Red Bull, Lawson is going to stay at RB, simply because he's the easiest person for the job and he's quite good at it.
That's a modest bet, actually, Rob, because they did pretty much the same thing with Ricciardo last year.
Blimey,
What about you?
Rob with a decent opinion. Crazy.
Jamie, what do you think? Who do you think?
Perez. I agree with Rob, actually, for once in my fucking life. I think it's going to be Colapinto.
That's not what I said at all.
What did you say? I meant Charlie, sorry.
Me.
So we haven't agreed. Brilliant. I hate you.
I'm tired. So I agree with Charlie. Again. I don't know. I've changed my answer. This video's a fucking mess. I know I said that Perez will probably keep his seat. I think that Lawson's too attractive to ignore. Moral of the story is, we don't fucking know what's going on, and they don't either. Wow.
It has been days since we started recording.
Is anyone still here?
If you're still watching this, please subscribe.
Alright, I'm done with this shit. Oh, fucking hell. Fuck off!